As it is written, the kingdom is within us. Come together and discuss the issues within the kingdom. Speak your peace. Speak the truth. For the kingdom is at hand. Kingdom Conversations.
Peace and blessings, peace and blessings, peace and blessings to the whole house. There's only one house and there's only one real kingdom. There's only one house and one real kingdom. And that real kingdom is the kingdom of the Israelites. My brothers and sisters, those folks that the Father said was the apple of his eye. He surnamed them Yasha'Allah. Some say Israel, some say Yasha'Allah. But you know who the people are, those people who were in derision. You were in derision because of everything that was thrown at you. From religion, stained glass, your enemy, that hippie heroin addict and Greek garb, Cesare Borgia, that no good bastard, stringy hair Christian Bale looking wood, your mortal sworn enemy. And that's funny. Your mortal sworn enemy was propped up to be your God because they said that he was God. And they said that they self was God. Your sworn mortal enemy was propped up. And most of y'all still have, not most of y'all, actually, that's wrong, brother. See, some of y'all, not a lot, some of y'all still have stained glass as your savior. Stained glass cannot be your savior. It's an impossibility. Why is that an impossibility, brother? See, because that's your sworn enemy. Christianity was sworn against you. That's why they have replacement theology. That's why they say the Christians are the saints. That's why they say that they are the people of the book. When they fit not now one of Deuteronomy 28, 15 through 68. How can you tell who the people of the book are contrary to your lineage? Well, first of all, what last name you got today? Do you have a last name of your ancestors and your forefathers, or do you have a last name? If you look at the same people that call themselves Johnson, do you have some so-called black Johnsons and some so-called white Johnson? I believe Lyndon Baines Johnson was a white man, huh? But Larry Johnson is a black man. How can that be? One of them has got their real name, and one of them has a false pretend name that wasn't his. Who fits Deuteronomy 15 through 68? Books say it will be for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever, not upon thy seed 2 days and be gone, not upon thy seed for 50 hours and be gone. It says it will be a sign and a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. If it's upon your seed forever, that means it's in your DNA. And people can look at you and see that there's something peculiar about you. No matter where he scattered you, you're different people. And it's not just a skin color thing. It's a spirit thing. Greetings, fam. Shalom to everybody. Hope you guys are well. Thanks for chiming in. And we're going to keep going in on this system of the damned. And the system of the damned is trying to kill our children, trying to take our children out the box, trying to make them feel less than, trying to instill in them that they're criminals, trying to put inside of their mind that they are worthless. And then they want to get them on drugs and institutionalize them. The education system, the economic system, the social system, the banking system, the medical system, any system that you can think of that's here in the United States and elsewhere. Because let's make it clear, the United States and the West control the whole earth. So any system that they're involved in is wicked as hell and is destined to destruction. So you will be wise to get your children and everybody connected to you out of that system as best as you can. Shalom, sis. How you doing? Greetings to you. Hope you're well. Hope your technology is good. What's good?
Peace and blessings, everyone. Please say a prayer for me right now. Literally 15 minutes before I came on here for the live, my system started crashing. So I'm hoping that there's no more issues in that kit. Can you all hear me, first of all?
Loud and clear. You coming in good?
Okay. I said a prayer and just rebooted. So I appreciate, just want to say hi to the family.
Yeah, everything sounded good, and it's actually sounded better than the last time because we had it sounded real choppy. But we know what that is, though. You must have some information that somebody doesn't want to get out today, and so we'll approach it like that. Greetings, fam. It looks like we got a couple people in, so I'm gonna go ahead and greet the fam that is here. That's in the chat. Shalom, brother Daniel Blackshear, sister Cindy Clark, and sister Wise Society. Peace and blessings to you all. Anybody else that's coming in, you go ahead and drop your comment like we normally do, and I'll go ahead and shalom you. We're gonna continue this conversation until we've exhausted it and until everybody is activated. You are activated right now to know that you're Israel. That's not my mistake. That's not by happenstance that the Father woke you up this hour. Now, not only that, but since you've been activated to get back to your culture, have you been activated to do the Father's will? Now, my sister here that's on the panel, she's been activated to do the brother's will. Yes, she has. Hey, shalom, brother T. Peace and blessings to you. Hope you're well. Yeah, I jump on every now and again, and every now and again, I haven't been consistent because we're moving back into the direction that we were in before, and that direction was not so much putting up shows and doing things of that nature, but really doing the higher end productions that take months at a time to produce and figure out and work out. And then we've gone back to the lab and said that we would focus on those things. You'll still see me pop up every now and again when I have the strength and the energy, and I'll do a KC. But this topic that the sister has been covering are our children in the school systems. And you know what? I greeted the fam without even putting y'all up. I apologize for that, fam. I'm obviously out of practice. But the sister has been bringing some very, very good information. And it will behoove all of us to activate not only our minds, but our spirits to not only do the Father's will, but to be connected to people who are actually making a difference, right? This sister right here, my sister Wise Society, as her screen name goes, she's the modern day Harriet Tubman when it comes to helping to get our children out of this system and helping parents who have either had a heinous act happen to them or who have had one of these wicked systems come to try to take their children away or remove the children out of the wicked system into homeschooling. And she's had a whole laundry list of what she's been doing. So I'm gonna go ahead and have her speak to the family. And like I said, we're going to continue to do the shows about this because this is important in Israel. The last thing I'm going to say is this: do not feel as if you're hopeless, that there's nothing that you can do. I know that a lot of times that when you see a situation, it's like, okay, I don't even want to look at that. I don't want to touch that. But no, you should be encouraged that the Father's with you. You should be encouraged that the Father's tearing down this existing system that we are in. Now, if he is tearing down that system that we're in, what is the system that's going to come? Okay. And that's how we should be thinking. So, shalom, sis. It's good to see you again. we can go ahead and jump in and get started, and you can take over. Shalom, up next. Peace and blessings to you. Hope you're well. You can go ahead and take over.
I have an update about a situation that we had talked about in previous times when we met. And it was with regards to the 5 children that were taken from their parents traveling from Georgia to Tennessee. Do you kind of recall that situation that I discussed with the family at that time?
I do recall that. Go ahead and give the family a quick update on that, and not necessarily quick update. You can give the family a brief on it just to get them updated, because we might have some people that don't remember.
So there was a family, 2 parents, 5 children, and they were traveling from Georgia into Tennessee, and the state trooper stopped them. And the parents said that, basically they felt like the stop was a targeted and profiling kind of stop. They cooperated, and, the police officers ended up doing things that really, are questionable, which they always do with us. We know how, they roll out with those kind of practices. And so it ended up that they took all of the 5 children into the care, not the care, but into the custody of the Department of Children's Services, or Child Welfare. Some people know it as Child Protective Services. Some people know it as DCS. We were able to effectively work to advocate for those 5 children to be placed with a sister that lives over in Tennessee, so that they wouldn't be separated and dispersed further from each other. As the parents battled, to proclaim their innocence about some trumped up charges that, the state troopers really tried to add on to them. And basically, the parents had been declaring their innocence the whole time. Well, we know ultimately that the state dropped the charges because it was too much exposure, and they ended up returning the children within 54 days, which is typically shorter than average time. Like, it takes parents a long time and a hard battle to get their children back from the grips of the system, if they get them back. Okay. And so last week, the judge ordered that the body cam footage for the initial stop could not be shared with the public. And, we got to be watching and mindful of these things, because what the parents were saying the whole time was true. The trooper called the station and said to the lady dispatcher what was going on. And the mom said that she heard them say, "Bring me some kids." Okay. Now, suddenly, the family has been mandated not to share the body cam videos and other videos that were taken during that entire stop and seizure of the kids. And so I want you guys to understand, that these things are continuing to happen. I work closely with parents that these things happen to. And, when people are telling about their stories and what happened to them, we can't just brush it under the rug as if it sounds too outlandish, like that couldn't have possibly happened. I personally collected evidence for the legal impact team. And from what I saw, a lot of the things that took place were done fraudulently on behalf of the system. And so I just wanted to share that update, and if it comes down to it, there are people in the public that are pushing back and saying, we have, the video. We wanted you guys to do the right thing and expose it, but you cannot stop the public from sharing the video. And so right now there's a huge battle over the troopers' body cam footage being shared with the public. So I want to stop right there for you to be able to chime in on that.
Yeah, I do. There was a number of questions, but the most important question that I have is that who said, "Bring me some kids," number one, and then I'm assuming that was heard. through the dispatch. I'd like to know who that person was. And then number two, my question is, for what purpose should someone bring you kids or bring you children? Because they're not kids, they're children. For what reason do you need children? Is it a quota system that you're running? Are you taking these children and running them through this wicked foster care system? Or are you taking these children and they'll never be seen again, to where they wind up in some experimental lab underground or somewhere else? I don't. I'm asking these questions because for them to say bring me some kids means that this is something that happens all the time.
Exactly. And so that's why I bring up this update and share this information so that the family is aware of the things that are happening, right? And I try to, talk about proactivity in doing what you can to fortify your households and your children, in the sense of knowing these things ahead of time, right? But typically, what we do is wait until they happen to us, and by that time, it could possibly be too late. And I don't use that as a fear tactic. I use that as knowing the things that happen in the domains of child protective services, education systems, social service systems, and none of it is geared in our favor. Okay. And so here we have again a clear indication of there being two methods of justice, or the lack thereof, in the United States of America. One that protects the white ethno state, and the other one that is designed to exploit, abuse, and oppress us. Okay, because I don't even know any other situation where you have the body cam footage, which is supposed to be public information, denied from the public's view for a child welfare issue. Okay. So those questions are great questions, Brother C. I know that a lot of times it happens in cases of police brutality, and the like. But when you have just a stop, nobody was brutalized physically during that stop, but children were taken from the system. Why would they hold back the body cam footage? If everything that they did was right, then they should be willing to share that with the public.
Yeah, and I thought that body cam footage was automatically for public domain consumption. Is that not true? Or the judge or that system has the latitude to say, okay, we'll release it or we won't release it. But if you're saying that you won't release it, then what heinous acts were committed, or what heinous acts were you attempting to commit?
So I believe what the parents said, right? That they did talk amongst each other on the speaker walkie-talkie and say exactly what they said. That I'm only disclosing part of what was said during the course of that time. And really, when you're looking at what's happening overall in that state, there are a lot of attempts from the legislature to not allow public accountability and transparency to happen overall with policing. But when you have cases like this, the judge does have jurisdiction to say what is allowed and what's not, based on the fact that you're dealing with minor children. But the parents are saying these are our children, and we don't mind this information being exposed because the public needs to know what happened. And then you have the district attorney saying, well, Your Honor, basically the parents might be saying that, but we don't want to expose this information on the body cam footage. And then when the children get older, they're upset because, everybody saw them as children. So that's the fight that is currently underway about that case.
So how can we get this is kind of interesting, but how can we get deployed so that we can put pressure on them to release the footage? What is that going to take?
So right now, me and some other advocates have decided that if they don't release the footage, we are. Okay.
Okay.
Because again, the parents had it, and prior to the judge mandating it not be disclosed, we already saw, we already heard, we already know. I helped collect evidence, right?
Okay.
And so I think that one way that the family can help to spread the truth is by sharing this information, right? Sharing the footage when, we're deciding right now whether or not it's going to be able to come out of, from the public that is actually in that state. But what I told them is that I'm in another state and that court doesn't have jurisdiction over me here in California sharing this information because it's public information. Okay. And so we're probably going to have that decision of who's going to be disclosing what with regards to the body cam footage, and then other articles of evidence that they don't want the public to know about, which lead and show to corruption, and corrupt deals on behalf of the Department of Children's Services. We're also looking at exposing those things. And I don't think that the mainstream media is the source of information to be able to do that. I think that we have to be able to tell that story on our own and share that out from our communities, because if we know it, if we put it in the hands of mainstream media, they're going to dilute the narrative and try to lean towards some kind of angle of, well, maybe it's because of a lack of funding, or they'll blame it on COVID, or I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that. I don't want this show to be stopped, or climate change somehow. It's just all of these other external political agendas, and we're just trying to expose the truth.
No, what their famous fallback is, well, the police need training.
Yes.
They weren't trained in how to properly do the right thing. When I thought you was trained when you went to police academy to train you to teach you right from wrong. Not to mention that your parents should have taught you some of that. But we should understand, family. We should understand where we are. Somewhere in the book says, somewhere I read it says that you will be in the neck of your enemies. So one of them tribes will be in the neck of their enemies. All of them is in the neck of their enemies, but one tribe in specific. Now, if you're in the neck of your enemies, everything that they do is wicked as hell. Not only that, they your enemy and they know that they're your enemy. We just now waking up 2024 out of the stupor that, okay, these people is for our turn. We can call them brother and sister when we cannot. There's no way that you can call somebody that's not your family your brother or your sister. And I'm talking about lineage. I'm not talking about no Christian light. I'm not talking about none of that foolishness, because that's utter foolishness. Stained glass Christianity, Catholicism, the Pope, the church fathers, all of that is damnable doctrine that'll send you straight to hell. Point blank.
So I'm going to put the article in the chat, but I did bring it up to share with everyone so that you guys can see it for yourselves. Again, if there's nothing corrupt in your dealings, why are you withholding the full release of the body cam video in the traffic stop? And then you want to blame it on the same children that you took? That's why you're withholding this information. The children, all 5 of them, they were all placed in foster care. But like I said, because we had a sister over there in Tennessee who was willing to take all 5, it stopped them from being, tragically dispersed. And, what typically happens in situations like this is that they will tear the family apart. The children will go to whatever homes are willing to take them, and that can be in the next state over, right? You get children transferred all the time between Tennessee, Georgia, Indiana, other places, right? And that doesn't just happen in the Department of Child Welfare. It happens in the juvenile justice system. So as you can see right here, this is the statement: there must be a compelling government interest to prohibit speech in this manner. There shouldn't be any reason they can't share them, and we know that, right? But the judge, again, entered a protective order barring the footage from being disseminated to the public and warned that anyone who did would be found in contempt. Okay. And so, what the attorney is saying right here, you can see, is that they came by these recordings in a lawful manner. There shouldn't be any reason they cannot share them. The people involved in them are their children. And so if they feel comfortable sharing the videos with whomever they wish to share them with, they should have the freedom to do that. And so the issue is over whether or not they can have it in its raw form. The courts and the county DA want it redacted. Okay. They want it redacted. Okay. So there's a lot in here that is just makes you want to question, like, well, are we protecting the children? Or are you protecting your wicked entity? Well, we know the answer to that. But I just wanted to show you guys how long these things carry out, right? They have their children back. Now they just want to share the truth, right? But the judge has disallowed their ability to do that. And so anybody that shares it will be found in contempt, right? And there's some of us that are like, okay, that's fine. Not everybody's going to be willing to say, okay, fine, right? But you're not going to continue to lie. You basically tore this family apart and tried to keep them torn apart. You took 5 children, and had we not had someone in place, they would have still been looking for their children today, right? Everything that led to them stopping the family to taking their children was corrupt, questionable, illegal. But they did it because guess what? We're white, we're the system, and we say so. Okay. And so here we are following the processes and procedures through their legal system. And this is ultimately the point of the fight that we're in now. Okay. And so it's interesting that the state suddenly cares about the fact that the children are going to appear in the videos, but they didn't care about the 5 children when they took them.
Right. Yeah.
See the hypocrisy there?
Yeah, I see that. And who is this Perry character? I'm seeing his name, and he's the one that pushed the gag over. Is that the judge?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, he's an evil entity in and of himself.
Exactly.
Because the court system, family, did you guys know? And I'm more than likely I'm speaking out of turn, but every court case that comes in front of a judge's bench, I'm asking this question because I have my suspicions. Do the judges get cuts on those cases that come before them? Do they get like a percentage of like the traffic stops, the CPS cases, any money that's transferred, whether it be traffic, whether it be misdemeanors, whether it be felonies, when people have to pay these fines and whatnot? Do judges get a piece of that action?
So they're not supposed, look, that's not supposed to be legal, but we know based on things that based on
illegal. Well, this whole article is illegal. Drop it in the chat so that I can drop it to the family.
I'm trying to drop it in the chat, and YouTube let you know is not allowing me to drop information into the chat.
Okay, that's okay. I can do it just as easy. So I'm gonna go ahead and put it in there. I appreciate that. There it is. It's in the chat now. There's more than one way to skin this cat, but go ahead, sis.
Right. And so obviously this is a touchy subject. Anytime you start talking about the child welfare system, and we're, next session, we're going to go into a lot more about the child so-called welfare system and so-called juvenile justice system. But I wanted to give you all an update about what was happening so that you can see it while it's unfolding and know that these things are still a very present danger to the livelihood of our families. Okay. And this is not something that, people think happens, but it does. And so that's the only reason why I wanted to share that update with you. But yes, Notorious Hebrew, sometimes when they make backroom deals, I think of it as the public pretender. I'm not talking about everybody though. So if somebody in the chat, it happens to be a good public defense attorney, great. But for the most part, that's a lot of willing and dealing, quid pro quo, right? This for that, right? And we know based on the way that the system is structured, typically we're on the losing end of the deal anyway. So, I mean, what are they negotiating? Career promotions, political seats, there's a lot of stuff that you got to question and research and really be mindful of how that trickles down to what's happening with our babies. This family had a newborn baby, and that newborn baby was prohibited from receiving the mother's breast milk. Okay. And so they compelled the baby to drink formula, even though all the other children had been breastfed. Right. So things like that, are all a part of this stop, search, seizure that was questionable. Rightfully, of course, the court said, you know what, we're going to dismiss everything because they didn't want to have any dealings with it. But now the family's like, no, you took our 5 children based on a lack of evidence, but you said you had evidence. And now they're saying they can't locate the evidence. Okay, so there's a lot going on in this situation. Courts can't locate evidence. The tests that they took, when they first claimed that the family was on all these drugs are not locatable. The person at the lab quit. Okay, so I just want to let you guys know there's a lot going on in this one situation. So think about how the mass impact of this happening all over with our families looks if this is the same thing continuously happening. And there are people that don't have the wherewithal or the resources to fight back in the way that this family did.
And that's because of and that has more to do. Not having the resources is not necessarily a monetary thing, and you can attest to this. I think the lack of resources has to do with individuals connecting with individuals like you and other individuals being raised up to do this fight. We should have 7, 8, 9, 10 of yous in every state across the whole snakes. There should be that. And prayerfully, we will get to that. But at any rate, I'm going to move off of that. I'm going to greet some of the family that came in. Abiyah, Israel, peace and blessings. Hope you are well. Jason, hey, good brother. Hope you are well. Hope all is well with you. Notorious Hebrew, you need to get saved because you're not saved. Anyway, sis, you can go ahead and go into the next part of the that you wanted to discuss. That was an update, fam, on that family. You guys have the link. I'd recommend that you read it. I'm sure most of you have saw the original stop, but the link is there for you to go back and see the update, and you can see and be reminded that you are in the face of your mortal enemy. You are in the face of your mortal enemy when you wake up, when you go to the office or you go to the job, when you go to the grocery store, when you go to the ball games that you go to, when you go to the concerts, when you go to the movies, wherever you go, if you are hearing the snakes, and not just the snakes, abroad as well, you are in the face of your mortal and sworn enemy, and you need to move as such. You're at war. And right now, you're Shalom, son of Yaakov. You are enemy. You are enemy of the state. Not only are you an enemy of the state, you're a prisoner of war in this wicked system. Go ahead, sis.
So I want to start out today's discussion with 2 Chronicles 33, and I want to do this a little bit more interactively. So when I stop reading on this, I'm going to ask, some questions of the people that are watching, and they can just drop them in the chat. But I thought that, we have done this for enough amount of time where I think that activating people would be interactive, right? And so I wanted to start off with the text in 2 Chronicles 33. Can you all see that?
Let me throw it up. It's up.
Oh, okay. All right. And so we're going to look at Manasseh, who was the son of Hezekiah, right? And those of you, I know all of the people watching this are scholars in the word. So, you should know who Hezekiah and Manasseh are. But let's revisit this story. 2 Chronicles 33, and I'm going to use the New King James Version. Manasseh was 12 when he became king, and he reigned 55 years in Jerusalem. But he did evil in the sight of the Lord, according to the abominations of the nations, whom the Lord had cast out before the children of Israel. For he rebuilt the high places which Hezekiah his father had broken down. He raised up altars for the Baals and made wooden images, and he worshipped all the hosts of heaven and served them. He also built altars in the house of the Lord, of which the Lord had said, in Jerusalem shall my name be forever. And he built altars for all the hosts of heaven in the two courts of the house of the Lord. Also, he caused his sons to pass through the fire in the valley of the son of Hinnom. He practiced soothsaying, used witchcraft and sorcery, and consulted mediums and spiritists. He did much evil in the sight of the Lord to provoke him to anger. He even set a carved image, the idol which he had made in the house of God, of which God had said to David and to Solomon his son, in this house and in Jerusalem, which I have chosen out of all the tribes of Israel, I will put my name forever. And I will not again remove the foot of Israel from the land which I have appointed for your fathers, only if they are careful to do all that I have commanded them according to the whole law and the statutes and the ordinance by the hand of Moses. So Manasseh seduced Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem to do more evil than the nations whom the Lord had destroyed before the children of Israel. And the Lord spoke to Manasseh and his people, but they would not listen. Therefore, the Lord brought upon them the captains of the army of the king of Assyria, who took Manasseh with hooks, bound him with bronze fetters, and carried him off to Babylon. Now, when he was in affliction, he implored the Lord his God and humbled himself greatly before the God of his fathers, and prayed to him, and he received his entreaty, heard his supplication, and brought him back to Jerusalem into his kingdom. Then Manasseh knew the Lord was God. After this, he built a wall outside the city of David on the west side of Gihon in the valley, as far as the entrance of the fish gate, and it enclosed Ophel, and he raised it to very great height. Then he put military captains in all the fortified cities of Judah. He took away the foreign gods and the idol from the house of the Lord, and all the altars that he had built in the mount of the house of the Lord and in Jerusalem, and he cast them out of the city. He also repaired the altar of the Lord, sacrificed peace offerings and thanks offerings on it, and commanded Judah to serve the Lord God of Israel. Nevertheless, the people still sacrificed on the high places, but only to the Lord their God. Now the rest of the acts of Manasseh, his prayer to his God, and the words of the seers who spoke to him in the name of the Lord God of Israel, indeed, they are written in the book of the kings of Israel. Also his prayer and how God received his entreaty and all his sin and trespass, and the sites where he built high places and set up wooden images and carved images before he was humble. Indeed, they are written among the sayings of Hosea. And so Manasseh rested with his fathers, and they buried him in his own house. Then his son Ammon reigned in his place. Ammon was 22 years old when he became king, and he reigned 2 years in Jerusalem. But he did evil in the sight of the Lord, as his father Manasseh had done. For Ammon sacrificed to all the carved images which his father Manasseh had made, and served them. And he did not humble himself before the Lord, and his father Manasseh had humbled himself, but Ammon trespassed more and more. Then his servants conspired against him and killed him in his own house. But the people of the land executed all those who had conspired against King Ammon. Then the people of the land made his son Josiah king in his place. So I want to pause right there before we go to, because I'm going to read 34:2. But I want to pause right there. And like I said, I want to interact with everyone in the chat. Let me bring up the question that I have for you all. 1 second. Let me bring that up. I'm sorry about that. Okay. So can you see this other tab that I'm sharing instead?
Yes.
Okay. So the question is, and please, if you have a certain way you want people to answer by using a 1 or a 2, Brother C, definitely. And I'm just gonna use my app this way because I don't want to switch it and it get messed up. So Manasseh was 12 years old when he became king, and he reigned for 45 years in Jerusalem. But he did evil in the sight of the Lord according to the abominations of nations whom the Lord had cast out before the children of Israel. Who and what played a role in shaping his character and instilling in him a desire to do wrong, right? And what compelled him to turn, repent, and go in the right direction? Because we know Manasseh was the son, even though he was 12, when he became king, he was the son of Hezekiah. Hezekiah said that he did right in the eyes of the Lord. So who and what played a role in shaping his character and instilling in him a desire to do wrong is what I want to take time to discuss with the family.
Okay, so fam, and sis, I'll let you control it. You could tell them, you can have the family address or answer the way you see fit. I don't think that this particular question is a 1 or a 2. It's a simple question. Who influenced Manasseh to create heinous acts and to be wicked as hell? That's the question. And if you know
Right?
the answer, put the answer in the chat. We'll give you guys a few minutes to come up with the answer. If you know the answer, put it in the chat. Is that cool, sis?
Yeah. And if you don't know, say, I don't know, right? Because right
Yeah.
now, this is just an interaction with between us. Like it could have been the society, the culture, to where he was at. I mean, all of those things could have played a role. I just want to see some interaction with regards to who and what played a role in shaping his character and
Okay.
putting it the desire to do wrong.
Okay, so fam, if you know the answer, put it up. If you don't know, say I don't know. But what we're looking for is we're looking for the family to interact. And I'm gonna put my answer up. I'm gonna put my answer. I'm gonna blame the United Snakes for everything. All right, so that's gonna be my answer. It's incorrect, but it might be alluding to something. So for me, the United States was it's the United Snakes' fault. Mind you, that when Manasseh was running around, the United Snakes wasn't even a nation. So I could be pointing to the people that run the United Snakes, right? So fam, if you can, interact. If you don't know, say you don't know. And if you do know, or if you got a question. Okay, so the question is, here's the question, Obadiah. The question is, who or what caused Manasseh to do evil in the sight of the Father? And it's if you look at the question, you may be able to see the answer there. We got a bunch of answers, so sis, I'm gonna put the answers up as they come in. Notorious Hebrew says, I don't know. Obadiah, hopefully I was able to answer that for you. Son of Jacob says, wicked influence of the peeps around him. Now, son of Jacob, do you mean the Israelites that was wicked as hell around him, or the other wicked nations or the wicked entities? Because there's a lot of that running around too. Abiah Israel says the people of Esau. That's interesting answer. Let's see. Why Society says maybe the surrounding wicked nations had an influence on him.
Right. Because we know he
Yep.
started his reign at 12, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that would lead us to believe, well, where did he learn this behavior from? Okay. And he continued that behavior. Especially knowing, this really boggled me when I was thinking about it, because Hezekiah was his father, and so I think it's a good place to start and looking at the role of outer forces that may shape us. We know ultimately he had to decide within his own heart, based on the story we just read, that he was going to do right in the sight of the Lord. But I want to know the second part of the question: what compelled him to turn, repent, and go in the right direction? So that's the next part that I want the family to answer. What compelled Manasseh?
Okay, so we got the first part of the first answer was the nations whom the Father had cast out before the children of Israel. So those nations were within us and around us, and I would probably say that some of these people were the strangers too. There's a lot of people get it twisted about the strangers, but we know who the strangers was, and the strangers is not to be trusted. Okay. So now the next question is, and sis, if you can drop the question in the private chat, if you can, and if not, I can type it up. But we go back to the question again. I didn't catch it. Let me get that off the screen.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay,
I got
so
this started my background, and so here is
you're
the
fine.
question a little bit bigger, right?
Mm-hmm.
And let me try to put this in the chat. I want to know, you want me to put the second part in the chat or the first part?
I'll type it up. I can see it now, and I don't have to worry about my spelling because I can see it. It's
Okay.
big enough where the old man could actually see it. So the
Right.
question is, family, what compelled him to turn, repent, and go in the right direction? That's a question to you, family, and I'm going to put it in the chat as soon as I type it up. Okay, so that's the question. And if you don't know, say I don't know. If you have, if whatever you think it is, go ahead and put that in the chat. And what we're really looking for is we're looking for interaction for those of you who are on listening. And quite frankly, the interaction is good. So if you can put what you think the answer is, go ahead and drop that in the chat. What compelled him to turn, repent, and go in the right direction? Well, I would just say, just not to give away any of the what it could be or what it couldn't be. Shalom says, hope you're doing well. We got an answer. The Ruach HaKodesh compelled him to turn and repent. There's nothing like a good tail whooping
Right.
to set you straight. And but the thing is that when you get in that tail whooping, you'll remember some of the things that your father was telling you. See, that's why it should be
Exactly.
easy. It should be easy for us to remember the teachings of our father and of our mother, right? Especially this hour. But you will find that when you're trying to do right and you're trying to go the path of righteousness, what happens is your children will be under attack and they'll want to go to the left hand side.
Yep.
Point blank, period.
And if
Go ahead,
there's
sis.
no knowledge, no law, statutes, and commandments that has been put in them, no wisdom, then they're going to do what they see the surrounding people doing. Okay. And so when there is a constant force that is trying to train our children against the Most High, right, and there's nothing else for them to draw on, they might not even have the ability to turn back like Manasseh, right? And so we know that ultimately Manasseh cried out to the Most High in his suffering, and based on what his cry was and what his actions were after that, that he knew right from wrong, left and right, stay on the path of righteousness, the law, statutes, and commandments all along. Obviously, it was put into him. Okay. His wicked dealings were what he desired and chose, right? The abominations, until he encountered that extreme suffering. And look, some people are like that. Like the consequences just have to be there, unfortunately, right? For the most of us, a lot of times the consequences have had to be there. And so just be mindful of that as we go along. And I want to go now to Second Chronicles 34. Can you see it?
We can see that, but before you hit that, I got something real brief to say, and it's more of a comment. Now, the that whole thing with him kind of reminds me of us,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a parallel to us because what we're doing in Deuteronomy 30 is we're calling these things to mind, the blessings and the curses. A lot of us only call the curses. Some of us never call the blessings. But he said, call to mind both. And he said, call to mind the blessings of the curses where I set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among all nations where we are, because we scattered abroad throughout all the nations where he dropped us off at.
Right.
But the key part is verse 2, and I shall return unto the Father thy Elohim, and shall obey his voice according to all that I commanded thee this day. So Manasseh said, okay, you know what? My dad was trained up, and he was trained up, and he knew the Father. And so I'm going to go back to that. And I'm going to read this comment from my sister. Hey, shalom, sis. Hope you're well. Sister born bold. The children of the flesh are rarely in repentance. That's just what I think. That's actually an accurate statement, sis. You have to be, in order for you to get your.
All right. So I think that Brother C might be coming back. I don't see him still there. So let's just go on to, if you can hear me, put a 1 in the chat. If you all can hear me, please put a 1 in the chat.
Okay, so I was out of pocket for a few seconds.
That's okay. Okay, they heard me because I was just gonna keep it rolling.
Okay, great. So did you?
It's a day of attack. The prince of the power, the air thing. He gonna disrupt this conversation, but we're gonna have this conversation.
Yeah. So did you read? Did you? Anybody hear my reading the Deuteronomy 30?
We heard most of what you said. You've probably been offline for about 1 minute.
Maybe. So I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go back and capture that because all of a sudden my mic went on mute, and I don't know why it went on mute, but it went on mute. But that's okay. I'm gonna go back and read it again, Deuteronomy 30, because I've mentioned that we parallel that, and I also mentioned what the sister had put up. I'm gonna go ahead and put that up again. The children of the flesh are rarely in repentance. That's correct because they don't have the Ruach HaKodesh and they haven't been instructed by the Ruach HaKodesh to get back to the law, statutes, and commandments. Point blank, period. You cannot have no repentance if you run around doing everything that you think you want to do and some lying ass pastor telling you it's okay for you to sin. It's okay for you to do wrong. It's okay for you to listen to John when John and Paul, none of them taught contrary to the book. But it's okay for you to do that. It's okay for you not to do as it is written what the Father told you to do. Stop playing with me. Stop playing. Deuteronomy 30. I'm going to read it again when you turn the mic off. Deuteronomy 30. And it shall come to pass when all these things are come upon thee, the blessings and the curses which I have set before thee, thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations, whether the Father thy Elohim have driven thee. So no matter where you at, you're supposed to be calling to mind not only the curses, 15 through 68, but you're supposed to also call to mind the blessings because the head is going to become the tail and the tail is going to become the head. Now, Manasseh did verse 2, and we should be doing verse 2. And shalt return unto the Lord thy Elohim, the Father thy Elohim, and shalt obey his voice according to all that I have commanded thee this day. So he telling you right there, you got to do what I told you to do. Point blank, period. Do what I told you to do. Quit listening to Creflo Dollar. Quit listening to TD Snakes, Joel Osteen. They have an agenda to make money and send you to hell. Point blank. All right, sis. Now I'm going to stop yelling at y'all. Now I'm going to calm back down.
See it repeated time and time again and teach these things to your children.
Teach them to your children. And that's how come Manasseh was able to get back. We had a gap in our knowledge. A long gap to where we was lobotomized and we looking at our enemy as God. We've been programmed to believe our enemy is God. I close my eyes right now. I see stained glass as being Mashiach. That's a pity and a shame. This day, this hour, you have a man that's talking about he Israelite and he can't even see the Father the appropriate way. That's a pity and a shame.
People interpreting the scriptures that we have authority on based on stolen identities.
That's right.
Okay? And
that's
so, right. Our return comes with our authority over scripture. Anyway, let's go to
See, now you really gonna get me fired up now. There's only one group of people on this earth that's got authority that can interpret this book. And the other books that they said that the lying Catholics said that you shouldn't be reading. It's only one group of people that's got authority. They in the chat. And they own this broadcast right now. I'm gonna read what this sister said, and I'm gonna let you rock out. And most of us, most of all, because we should speak life into Yisrael, call into mind the blessings. I say amen to that because you know why? Everybody can quote the curses, but can't nobody tell me what the blessings was. And he said, call to mind both. You should be preparing your mind, body, and spirit to take over something. Not to just be a participant, not just to be, oh yeah, I work for them. No. What does it mean to, what does it mean? I'm gonna ask them before you go, sis. I'm gonna ask everybody in the chat. What does it mean to you, the head becoming the tail? The head means that you run a shop. The tail means that, hey, you in last place, you're at the bottom of the barrel. You get the crumbs. Matter of fact, you don't even get the crumbs. You get to be owned by someone. What does it mean to you, Israel, for the tail to become the head? You the tail right now. You're about to become the head. You coming to the headship, and most of y'all afraid. You're supposed to be talking about, okay, I see this whole system going down. It's being torn down. What can I take over this hour? The Father is going to fully furnish you to take it over because He the one that put it in you, in your mind to take it over in the first place. That's right. We run this. That's right. That's right. We do. Anyway, I'm gonna let the sister rock out. I'm sorry, sis. Please forgive me for that.
Oh, don't apologize. We're having a discussion, interaction today, right? And so, I'm hoping. Well, you know what, brother? See, I think the people in this chat are doing everything that you said, speaking life, getting ready, doing their practicing their talent, mastering dominion. I just really do. So we're gonna just speak as though we're doing that already. We're already.
I'm gonna say this. I can tell. One thing I know for certain that the folks that come into the chat, they know the book. That much I know, and I know they know who and what LSC is. They didn't believe Creflo Dollar when Creflo Dollar say he don't want you to keep the law because LSC, the law is Mashiach. So how you say you gonna love Mashiach and you ain't doing him? Explain, make that make sense. But these people that come into the chat, my brothers and sisters that I see, that's commenting, those individuals know that book. And they are slice and dice a white evangelical head off all the way till they bleeding blood squirting all over the place. And Creflo Dollar in them too. Anyway, go ahead, sis.
They not funding the private jets, that's what I'm saying.
Nah, he ain't no private jet. Creflo Dollar talk about the Hasatan wants you to sin. No. He said that Hashatan wants you to keep the law. Because if you keep the law, you gonna sin. You must be crazy, sir. Sir, you are out of your mind. Go ahead, sis.
All right. So here we have 2 Chronicles 34, right? We were just reading about Manasseh in the chapter right before this. And so Josiah was 8. Okay. Remember, Manasseh was 12 when he became king, and Josiah was 8 when he became king. And he reigned 31 years in Jerusalem. And he did what was right in the sight of the Lord and walked in the ways of his father David. He did not turn aside to the right or to the left. For in the 8th year of his reign, while he was still young, he began to seek the God of his father David. And in the 12th year, he began to purge Judah and Jerusalem of the high places, the wooden images, the carved images, and the molded images. They broke down the altars of the Baals in his presence, and the incense altars were above them. He cut down, and the wooden images, the carved images, and the molded images, he broke in pieces and made dust of them and scattered it on the graves of those who had sacrificed to them. Now, remember, he's a young boy, young man, right? He also burned the bones of the priests on their altars and cleansed Judah and Jerusalem. And so he did in the cities of Manasseh, Ephraim, and Simeon, as far as Naphtali, and all around with axes. When he had broken down the altars and wooden images, had beaten the carved images into powder, and cut down all the incense altars throughout all the land of Israel, he returned to Jerusalem. Okay. In the 18th year of his reign, when he had purged the land and the temple, he sent Shaphan, the son of Azaliah, Messiah, the governor of the city, and Joah, the son of Joahaz, the recorder, to repair the house of the Lord his God. When they came to Hilkiah, the high priest, they delivered the money that was brought into the house of God, which the Levites who kept the doors had gathered from the hand of Manasseh and Ephraim, from all the remnant of Israel, from all Judah and Benjamin, in which they had brought back to Jerusalem. Then they put it in the hand of the foreman who had the oversight of the house of the Lord, and they gave it to the workmen who had worked in the house of the Lord to repair and restore the house. So we see some structure of governance. Things weren't just chaotic and confused. They had a system in place, right? And they gave it to the craftsmen and builders to buy hewn stone and timber for beams and to floor the houses which the kings of Judah had destroyed. And the men did the work faithfully. Their overseers were Jahath and Obadiah, the Levites of the sons of Merari, and Zechariah and Meshullam of the sons of the Kohathites to supervise. Other of the Levites, all of whom were skillful with instruments of music, were over the burden bearers and were overseers of all who did work in any kind of service. And some of the Levites were scribes, officers, and gatekeepers. Now, when they brought out the money that was brought into the house of the Lord, Hilkiah the priest found the book of the law of the Lord God given by Moses. Then Hilkiah answered and said to Shaphan the scribe, I have found the book of the law in the house of the Lord. And Hilkiah gave the book to Shaphan. So Shaphan carried the book to the king, bringing the king word saying, all that was committed to your servants, they are doing. And they gathered the money that was found in the house of the Lord, and they have delivered it into the hand of the overseers and the workmen. Then Shaphan the scribe told the king, saying, Hilkiah the priest has given me a book. And Shaphan read it before the king. Thus it happened when the king heard the words of the law that he tore his clothes. Then the king commanded Hilkiah, Ahikam, the son of Shaphan Abdon, the son of Micah, Shaphan the scribe, and Isaiah, a servant of the king, saying, Go inquire of the Lord for me, and for those who are left in Israel and Judah concerning the words of the book that is found. For great is the wrath of the Lord that is poured out on us, because our fathers have not kept the word of the Lord to do according to all that is written in this book. So Hilkiah and those the king had appointed went to hold of the prophetess, the wife of Shulam, the son of Tokhath, the son of Hashra. You know how we got these names. Keeper of the wardrobe. She dwelt in Jerusalem in the second quarter, and they spoke to her to that effect. Then she answered them, Thus says the Lord God of Israel, tell the man who sent you to me, thus says the Lord, behold, I will bring calamity on this place and on all its inhabitants, all the curses that are written in the book, which they have read before the king of Judah, because they have forsaken me and have burned incense to other gods, that they might provoke me to anger, with all the works of their hands. Therefore, my wrath will be poured out on this place and not be quenched. But as for the king of Judah who sent you to inquire of the Lord in this manner, you shall speak to him. Thus says the Lord God of Israel, concerning the words which you have heard, because your heart was tender and you humbled yourself before God when you heard his words against this place and against its inhabitants, and you humbled yourself before me, and you tore your clothes and wept before me. I have also heard you, says the Lord. Surely I will gather you to your fathers, and you shall be gathered to your grave in peace, and your eyes shall not see all the calamity which I will bring on this place and its inhabitants. So they brought back the word to the king. Then the king sent and gathered all the elders of Judah and Jerusalem. The king went up to the house of the Lord with all the men of Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem, the priests and the Levites, and all the people, great and small. And he read in their hearing all the words of the book of the covenant which have been found in the house of the Lord. Then the king stood in his place and made a covenant before the Lord to follow the Lord and to keep his commandments and his testimonies and his statutes with all his heart and all his soul, to perform the words of the covenant that were written in this book. And he made all who were present in Jerusalem and Benjamin take a stand. So the inhabitants of Jerusalem did according to the covenant of God, the God of their fathers. Thus Josiah removed all the abominations from the country that belonged to the children of Israel, and made all who were present in Israel diligently serve the Lord their God. All his days they did not depart from following the Lord God of their fathers. So I want to pause right there, and you, if you want to speak on that before I go to the next question, which I want to be interactive, that's fine, or we can just go to the next question.
No, we can go to the next question. I just have one thing to say that is sad, because I pray that our people turn like how these people were turned. Somewhere in the book says, "Seek ye out of the book of the law and read." It doesn't say seek ye out of Christianity and read. Nor does it say seek ye religion and study at and say some mystical magical phrase and you're going to be saved. Seek ye out of the book of the law and read. These people found the book and they turned back to the Father. I pray this day that all our people, no matter where they be scattered, we have a heart to turn back to the Father. I don't care what you're involved in. All of us should be turning back. I don't care if you're a Christian light, that you straddle in the fence, that you're saying you're a Christian and you're Israelite. Just do the law, statutes, and commandments. Put that in your frontal lobe. These people went back, they found the book and they went back to the book. Go ahead, sis.
And it was said of Josiah from the beginning of his reign that he did what was pleasing in the sight of the Most High and followed the example of his father David. He did not turn from doing what was right. We're talking about an 8-year-old king, okay, who didn't have the book of the law, but did, before he had the book of the law, what was pleasing in the sight of the Most High, and followed the example of his father ancestor David. So the question is clear, but maybe not, right? Who and what played a role in shaping his character and instilling in him a desire to do what was right?
That question is to you, fam. Who and what played a role in shaping Josiah's character and instilling in him a desire to do what's right? I don't think I have to type it because it's on the screen. And if you know the answer, if you think you know the answer, if you have an answer that is that you think makes sense, go ahead and put it in. There's no you're not going to get buzzed, or you're not going to hear the wrong answer if you don't say what's right or wrong. Shalom Omiyah Yakita, peace and blessings. Samara, unorthodox daughter Zion, peace and blessings to you. Mr. Original School, peace and blessings to you. Peace and blessings to all true Israel on the chat. Peace and blessings to Israel.
And the reason why we're doing this way is because, again, you've been talking about what is going on with our children and our families. This is our fifth time, and so I just want to interact with the family to see what you guys think about what's being discussed. Right? Not saying that before you couldn't put things in the chat, but this time I have questions to interact with you all.
So now the question is, Shalom. Let's see. Bethia Yah, Bataya Yisra. Shalom, peace and blessings. So the question is, who and what played a role in shaping Josiah's character and instilling in him a desire to do what's right? If you think you know the answer, or if you have an answer, go ahead and put it in the chat. And I'm going to put my answer. My answer in. I'm going to say it's somebody in his lineage. I'm going to say his ancestors. Hopefully, I can spell it right because I don't know that this has spell check. I'm going to say Josiah's ancestors may have had something to do with it because he didn't have the book, and yet it was in his DNA. It was in his lineage. Like the book say, it will be a sign and a wonder upon thy seed forever. Let's see here. Q Real LVE live. What I'm going to say, that's what that means. And if I said it wrong, please forgive me. Follow the teachings of David and the ancestors who was following Yah's will. Shalom, hey, shalom to you. And that's you see that answer right there, sis?
Yep.
That's a solid answer. I said ancestors not to give nothing away because you know me, I'm a trickster.
Right.
In the mode of Loki. Yakita Makahala. I hope I said that right, bro. Peace and blessings to you. I haven't seen you in a while. Hope all is well with you. Hope you're doing great, brother. Peace and blessings to you.
You see, Most High put his name on us for sure. Because when I'm reading through scriptures, I said, see, these are our names right here, right? People can try to steal our identities, but we kept our names. And that's for sure. So
he said it will be for. So I keep repeating that. He said it will be for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. So, fam, if somebody's talking about their Christian life, you can't get away from this. You can't escape it. You might as well just accept it and assimilate. You cannot get away from the book of the law. Mashiach is the book of the law. That's what he came to fulfill. Don't you get that? I know the chat gets it. I know y'all get it. I know my family here get it. But okay, I'm gonna ask a silly question on top of another question. Kimmy Yah Rogers, shalom, peace and blessings, sis. I'm gonna ask y'all a question. Do y'all believe that Mashiach is the law? If you do, put a 1 up. Mashiach is the law. He said he came to fulfill. He came to fulfill the law. So how could he not be something that he wasn't to fulfill? How could he fulfill something that he wasn't if he was? Book says in the beginning was somewhere in John. I believe it's John. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with him, and the Word was him. But the Word was made flesh. What word was that?
Yep.
What word was that, fam? See, here's what Christianity never taught you. Christianity tells you don't keep the law, but they don't tell you that Mashiach is the law. That was hung on a tree. Say that. You better say that.
Every dot and tittle.
He's every single bit of that book and the books that you don't have.
Right. He
said, how could you say this phrase, I come in the full volume of the book if you wasn't the book? How come the pastors never taught you that? They could tell you about what Paul, Peter, and John said, which they pointed you to the book. Not now time that them men out misquote the book. Man's goofy interpretation was upon us, listening to white evangelicals and those quote church fathers, Tertullian. Listen to their damnable heresies. Go ahead, sis. So y'all got the answer to the question. Somebody did put it up. LSC, that's right. He is the law, statutes, and commandments. That's what Christianity, they forgot that part. When they gave you that one page out of the Bible and said, here, niggers, you read this, but don't try to understand it. I don't want you reading. So I'm going to give you this one page out of all the pages of the book of the Bible. I'm going to give you this one page where it say, obey thy masters.
Right. Because they wanted us to look at them as God. That's why they created and carved images of themselves and perpetuated them as God. And so that we would always see them in some divine or supreme sense and be in a perpetual state of begging them.
Yes, sir. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And listen, what's so beautiful though? What's beautiful, and I say this all the time, and I love saying it. I am so happy that we not getting on the microphone talking about we forgive them when they do a heinous act. I am so happy in my heart that we not playing for this wicked construct. We not praying for this construct to be on top anymore. That we are part of it. The red, white, and blue is not for you. The red, white, and blue is not for you. The red is Republicans. The white, the blue is Democrats. And the white is white people ain't got nothing to do with you. There's no Ruddy in there. And Ruddy is looking like the people in the chat. Ruddy don't mean no white person who ain't got no melanin in them. Ruddy is me. I'm Ruddy. You know, misquoted, misconstrued everything. Got people following you. You going away backwards, following the red, white, and blue flag. For what? Straight just like that. Everyone, only people I care about is the Israelites. And it ain't the fake fews, the 1948s, the fake false pretenders. That's not who it is. I'm Israelite by lineage. I can look at them curses and say, oh yeah, that's my family. That's my mom. That's my dad. That's my grandfather. That's my grandmother. That's my great-grandfather. My great-great-grandfather. My great-great-grandmother. They all up in Deuteronomy in there. I could see the parallels between our plight and the plight that the people went through in the book. The same exact thing over and over and over and over again. Nobody can't tell me we're not the people of the book. That's why I don't entertain that argument. Go ahead, so I don't entertain that.
Does the family understand that we are nobility in captivity? Okay.
Some do. The people in the chat do. Everybody in the chat know that they royalty. Everybody in this chat right now know exactly what they are. This is for those people that say, oh, you know what? I want to make sure that the heathen gets saved. Was the heathen caring about you when you was going through it? Oh, well, the Father's not fair and just. The Father's not fair and just if he only saves Israel. Huh? How come nobody was saying it's fair and just what you were just coming out of and what you just went through? How come nobody was saying, oh, it should be fair and just to those niggers?
So James wrote a letter to the 12 tribes scattered abroad.
Wait a minute. No, he didn't. He wrote it to the Episcopalians. No, you need to stop. James wrote that letter. He meant to write it to the Catholics. James did not write no letter to the 12 tribes scattered. James wrote that letter to the Mormons. No, he didn't write it to the Mormons. I think he wrote it to who is that there? I think he wrote it to the non-denominationals.
You know, that's why I'm surprised that James don't get quoted for writing a letter to the 12 tribes scattered abroad more because, you know, I'm just saying. It's that text says. That's what the text says. And we know that our history is law, statutes, commandments, and wise teachings. Teachings on wisdom. Is not James a book of wisdom?
Bring it out.
Okay, so I just maybe they slipped that in, Brother C. I don't know. And so
well, would you precept that with who Mashiach say he came from? One of my favorites. He said he came for who? He said he came for the Catholic Church, right? No, he said, no, he really came for the Christian lights. Those people that are still Christian, still hanging on to that foolishness, but then they still trying to accept half of their culture. He say he came not but for who? The lost sheep of the house of Israel. Now, who on this planet is lost? Didn't know who they was, didn't have their culture, didn't have their name, couldn't speak Hebrew, could barely speak English. Who is that? Who is that identified with? Mashiach are telling you who he came for. 51,000 different denominations of boys. He didn't come for that. He say he come for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And it's that right there, son of Yaakov. That's who he came for. You can't trick. I can't be tricked. That's why. See, I can't be tricked. That's why I can't argue with nobody about this. I'm not gonna get on nobody's channel, no heathen channel, or anywhere else. Only thing I'm gonna tell them is y'all get ready to y'all under judgment. You know the only reason why this place ain't been smashed to beat to powder yet is because Israel is still here. That's the only reason why this place hasn't gotten beaten to powder. Soon as you remove this spirit that's in these Israelites out of this nation, what's gonna happen to this nation? And we're seeing it in real time. Did you know royalty? If you royalty, you need to start walking like it. Somebody put this up in the chat. Purple and gold. That remind me of something somewhere in the book. I know those two colors to be the color of royalty. What's the color of kingdom conversations? Purple and gold. That's not by accident. Go ahead, sis. Rock out.
All right. And so we talked about Manasseh, who was 12 when he started his reign. We talked about Josiah, who was 8 when he started his reign. And I want to go over to Daniel and his friends, right? Because, again, we're talking about the condition of our children and looking at the biblical precedent for where they should be, okay? And so let's look at Daniel 1, and then I'm asking another question, and we'll go further into dialogue about this. In the year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came to Jerusalem and besieged it. And the Lord gave Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into his hand, with some of the articles of the house of God, which he carried into the land of Shinar to the house of his God, and he brought the articles into the treasure house of his God. Then the king instructed Ashpenaz, the master of his eunuchs, to bring some of the children of Israel and some of the king's descendants and some of the nobles, young men in whom there was no blemish, but good looking, gifted in all wisdom, possessing knowledge, and quick to understand, who had ability to serve in the king's palace, and whom they might teach the language and literature of the Chaldeans. And the king appointed for them a daily provision of the king's delicacies and of the wine which he drank, in 3 years of training for them, so that at the end of that time they might serve before the king. Now, from among those of the sons of Judah were Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. To them the chief of the eunuchs gave the names. He gave Daniel the name Belshazzar, Hananiah, Shadrach, Mishael, Meshach, and Azariah, Abednego. But Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with a portion of the king's delicacies, nor with the wine which he drank. Therefore he requested of the chief of eunuchs that he might not defile himself. Now God had brought Daniel into favor and goodwill of the chiefs of the eunuchs. And the chief of eunuchs said to Daniel, I fear my lord the king, who has appointed your food and drink. For why should he see your faces looking worse than the young men who are your age? Then you would endeavor my head before the king. So Daniel said to the steward, whom the chief of the eunuchs had set over Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, please test your servants for 10 days, and let them give us vegetables to eat and water to drink. Then let our appearance be examined before you, and the appearance of the young men who eat the portion of the king's delicacies. And as you see fit, so deal with your servants. So he consented with them in this matter and tested them for 10 days. At the end of the 10 days, their features appeared better and fatter in flesh than all the young men who ate the portion of the king's delicacies. Thus, the steward took away their portion of delicacies and the wine that they were to drink and gave them vegetables. As for these 4 young men, God gave them knowledge and skill in all literature and wisdom, and Daniel had understanding in all visions and dreams. Now, at the end of days, when the king had said that they should be brought in, the chief of the eunuchs brought them in before Nebuchadnezzar. Then the king interviewed them, and among them all, none was found like Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Therefore, they served before the king. And in all matters of wisdom and understanding about which the king examined them, he found them 10 times better than all the magicians and astrologers who were in all his realm. Thus Daniel continued until the first year of King Cyrus. And so I want to go back to the slide. Give me 1 second. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm getting it. Okay. So here's, can you see that?
Yes, it looks good. It's perfect.
Okay. So the passage that we just read, Daniel 1, suggests that these young men, including Daniel, were already gifted with wisdom, knowledge, and understanding before they were taken to Babylon. The fact that they were chosen for their exceptional qualities indicates that they already stood out amongst their peers. Who and what played a role in shaping their character? Again, we have that question. Who poured into them? How did they have this knowledge, right? And instilling them a desire to do right. Who did that? Because these were young men, these were youth. And when the word speaks of youth and young men, they're talking about from infancy or birth up until age of beyond juvenile years, right? So we're talking really young. Like we saw Josiah at 8, Manasseh at 12, and now you have Daniel and the youth who were chosen specifically because of the gifted wisdom and knowledge that they had. So who put that in them?
That question is to you, fam. The question is to you. Who and what, and if you have an answer or if you have a thought about an answer, please put it in the chat. The question is who and what played a role in shaping their character and instilling in them a desire to do what's right. And you guys should be picking up the pattern that the sister's laying out before us without giving too much away.
Right. And so I see that, of course, there is some divine intervention with giving them skill in knowledge, but someone has to be drawing out that potential. We do not see a system of uniform schools and teachers and classrooms mentioned throughout the text. We see that these were youth, these were children who followed the examples of their forefathers and either their father or like Josiah followed the example of David, right? So where were they learning all of this? Who is putting this into them?
Yeah, because if I'm gonna go back and read verse 4, children in whom was no blemish, but well favored and skillful in all wisdom. Now you got children skillful in not just a piece of wisdom, not just in partial wisdom, but the book says in all wisdom and cunning and knowledge, which means that they were smart, but they could outthink probably the common 50-year-old heathen. And understanding science, which that includes the astrology, the astronomy, the sciences and that the science and laws that actually govern the earth. What's up with the ethereal realm and the ether? And such as had ability in them to stand in the king's palace, in whom they might teach the learning and the tongue of the enemy, the Chaldeans. Now, that's some special entities. But now I will say this. That's a good comment right there. I'm gonna put that comment up, and I'm putting up everybody's comments that drop in here. Since you see all the ones I'm putting up, this everybody that's answering the question. I
I
will say
appreciate that,
this.
right?
Mhm. No, go ahead, sis. Go ahead.
Because I saw the answer, the Most High, and so I'm asking a little bit deeper. Well, did the Most High just talk to them all day and teach them all day for them to have this gifted knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, right? And so I appreciate the fact that yes, we did learn from our elders, and they learned from their parents.
Y'all see that? Y'all seeing that pattern? We should be establishing a pattern out of everything, every example that the sister has shown. She's setting us up with this pattern, these trends. There's specific trends in the book, and if you can identify them, we should be able to learn from them. The parents was teaching these children this game, and of course, the parents was getting the instructions from the father. That's the trend that I'm seeing in all of these examples. That's right, sis. Train up a child.
Even Esther, she continued to glean wisdom from her uncle. Okay. Somebody had to be there teaching, and it seems like the role of the entire house. I mean, in the entire nation. Am I wrong, Brother C, for interpreting it that way?
No, you are 100% absolutely correct, and this should shed some light to everyone, which you all know. You've all known this, but this should shed some light on everyone why those folks were sold into captivity, who they were selling into captivity, because all our people are very tight. What I mean to say by that is that all our people
Right.
are very intelligent. Every single one of y'all is very intelligent, can create something out of nothing. If you was capitalized like some of these venture capitalists capitalize some of these goofy ideas of these people, if I could take 5 of y'all, fully capitalize y'all, and create 5 $10 billion enterprises, and it wouldn't be me doing it. That's the ingenuity that we have. How were we able to create a billionaire under captivity? How is you able to create a billionaire? You talk about you got so-called Boule members, the so-called African Americans, the talented 10. You got billionaires in that crowd of folk in captivity. Stop playing with us. I know that we the most brilliant people on this earth.
And that's another thing that I wanted to highlight, right? Because if we weren't, why would anybody want to hold us captive? Right?
I'm gonna go on record. Eli Whitney did not invent the cotton gin. Neither did Benjamin Franklin discover electricity. How you gonna have a white man running with a kite when it's raining, talking about if the kite got struck by lightning and he discovered electricity? That's a lie from the pit of hell. Stop telling me that. When you got Israelites over here making things better for themselves and making it so that you can make more money. The same thing with a job. Anyway, go ahead, sis.
So we're talking about those reasons, right? So let's look at the Babylonian captivity of the youths under King Nebuchadnezzar. There are a few reasons why the Babylonians and King Nebuchadnezzar specifically might have wanted to train the Hebrew boys. Okay. One of those is because of a display of power. Okay. So because remember, these are warfare. This is warfare too. If you're in captivity, you're in the middle of a war, right? Whether people want to believe that or not. A lot of times people will say, yeah, well, it's just a spiritual war. No, this is a war. We're in the middle of from asymmetrical warfare. Okay. And so display of power. By educating and assimilating the brightest and most promising of the Israelites, the Babylonians were demonstrating their dominion. Because they could take these children captive and teach them their ways. So turning Israel's potential future leaders into Babylonian officials was a poignant symbol of conquest. Okay.
Can I interrupt you right there?
Let's
Can I interrupt you right
go
there?
to another.
You know who that remind me of? That remind me of all our Boule politicians and the Boule members who are talented. I'm not saying they're not talented. They're misguided because they've been trained in how to move in politics, and they use it against us. But they use it for the captors. Anyway, keep going, sis.
So the second thing, let's look at the strategic advantage, right? The Hebrew boys could act as intermediaries between the Babylonians and the Hebrews. Being bicultural and bilingual, they could potentially reduce the risk of rebellion among the captured Israelites and serve as valuable diplomats or governors in occupied territory. So you just finished saying that.
That sounds like the Boule back then. That's the Boule right there. See, the Boule is in the book. See, there it is right there. That's them. You trained up in how to move, and then you say Obama or you say Kamala Harris or whoever it is, I can't do nothing specifically for black people. I got to do it for Rainbow Coalition. I can't do nothing for so-called black people. Oh, I can't do nothing just for black people. No. But you're trained and skillful in how to do these things. Boule members. And yet you don't want to do nothing for your family. You want to kowtow to the king. What's their phrase? The Boule phrase, the talented tent, beholden to the king. That's what they're saying right here.
And what Lioness of Judah said is absolutely correct. Okay, that's why I asked, family, do you know that your nobility? Do you know? Do you really know, right? While we going through the quote unquote awakening time, do we understand that we are the royal house, the nobility?
The royal house of nobility that a few of us still don't know we in a war.
Well, yeah, but even David was a warrior.
You key. They don't. Some of us don't know because some of us still running around calling your enemy your brother. Some of us still walking and running around talking about, oh, my office is to make sure that the heathen is saved.
So number 3, cultural appropriation. I talk about this often. I don't know if you guys have ever heard me saying it in the past, right? We went from assimilation, the forced assimilation, to acculturation, which is part of appropriation. Okay. They have a plan for this stuff. Just to let you know. The Babylonians valued the unique perspectives and skills that the Hebrew boys could bring to the Babylonian court. The differences in culture and education allowed for innovative thinking. I've seen people saying this in the chat. We can create stuff and we have all the time. And fresh perspectives in the Babylonian court. This practice of taking noble youths from conquered people for service in the victorious imperial court is a common practice amongst empires. So look at all of the captivities and you'll see this. Okay, including now, right? Including now. And so, the fourth thing is the identification with the Most High. I saw some people say that, right? Because of our relationship and the favor that is continuously upon us, because the Most High has not forsaken and forgotten us, even while in our captivity. Okay. And so that goes back to remembering the blessings. Identification with the Most High. The book of Daniel emphasizes that the young Hebrew men demonstrated exceptional wisdom and knowledge. That's not average. That's not ordinary. Exceptional wisdom and knowledge. Traits often associated with divine favor. Other people look at divinity. Now, remember, we're talking about polytheistic and multiple gods that they serve. And they look at those divine beings or whatever they want to call them, you know how the heathens and pagans have multiple gods, they look at them as associated with divine favor. So you have a walking, living, breathing Hebrew child that's demonstrating exceptional wisdom and knowledge, traits that they often have associated with divinity. And you don't think they're going to want to come get them? The Babylonians, recognizing their gifts, may have believed these individuals had unique access to the divine realm and could therefore be useful in the Babylonian court. And we see this and throughout Daniel's continued service and life. He served king after king after king, and they say, go get Daniel, we need knowledge. Go get Daniel, we need divine wisdom. Go get Daniel so he can interpret what's going on here. Which indicates to me that their fake gods wasn't able to help them, and their fake priests and prophets, right? They continue to go get Daniel.
Before you go further, I want you to look at this comment. Because the way you laying this down, it's like we in the Babylonian system right now. The same exact one that they was running back in. Look at this comment from the Taurus Hebrew, sis.
I'm sorry, I'll try to close it. Okay. Yes, this is deeper than religion. You're right. Right. And so, you know, I wanted to show you all this pattern and really interact with you to get you to understand who should be educating our children. The system. Because I'm going to, you know, next time we'll have more time, and I want to go into the difference between the Babylonian captivity and the American captivity, because there's a big difference. And the difference is that they recognized the wisdom of Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah and wanted them to expound more on that. But the American captivity, they tried to beat, kill, and lynch any information and knowledge out of us. They weren't trying to educate them for 3 years when they first enslaved and held captive our ancestors. They created laws and systems of codes to ensure that we didn't have access to any formal training or education. You talk about brutal and wicked, right? I mean, I don't want to say that Daniel had a good time in the captivity in the Babylon from the Babylonians, but you look at the comparison, where we at now, right? And so it's often a myth that our ancestors were not educated. No, they didn't speak the English language, right? And so the enforcement of be quiet, shut up, and go serve was from the foundations of this corrupt, wicked, heathen, white ethno-state. If you don't know that term, look it up. The United States of America was created as a white ethno-state, never had the intention on freeing their captives, who they enslaved, didn't offer formal training, didn't offer a word to say, hey, we can't even eat the king's food because we don't eat that, and let us show you the difference. No, you be quiet and shut up and go serve. And they never had the intention on giving us an opportunity to do anything besides labor. So I want to pause right there because I know that we have 15 minutes left, and I don't want to, start that other side of this lesson about the differences and comparing those. But I want people to really be thinking about where our children are at, right? Who are we turning them over to? And
if your children are public fool, you turn them over to witches and warlocks and those that hate your guts, your enemy, your mortal enemy. Keep going, sis. My bad.
No, that's that's where we at. I wanted to have this discussion and show the pattern and the level of wisdom and knowledge and understanding of the laws that our children, of past years, hundreds of years ago, we're talking, right? Shown through Manasseh and Josiah, right? We can even say thousands of years ago, had at very young ages. And then look at now, right? We didn't come here illiterate. We weren't held captive in the beginning as illiterate people. It's just that we didn't speak the king's quote unquote language. Okay. And so we'll talk more about that system of codification, revisiting that, and the ways that our children are entangled in that and how to detangle them once again. But we have to understand this is the beast system is our enemy, and they're the enemies of our children.
And if you know that I'm gonna go back and find your kids' comment. We'll put that back up, and I'm gonna go down. I'm gonna flow down from them. Put up some of y'all comments before we rock out. This comment should resonate with every Israelite, whether you claim to be an Israelite, whether you're a Christian light, were you still in Catholicism? Because if you talk about your Christian, you a Catholic. If you're Afrocentrist, I don't care who you are. At the end of the day, we are at war. We should understand and recognize that we are at war. Not be afraid. Don't be afraid because you just don't figure it out just over the last day that you're at war. Now the question is, what are you going to do about it? I'm not talking about you, Yaki. I'm talking to the whole nation. I know that my family that's in this chat, I know where they mind that. They already know we at war. Brother C, you ain't said nothing new. This is for the family that you point your family to that's Christians that say, hey, look, listen to what Christina was talking about. Don't listen to that loudmouth. Listen to what the sister was talking about. She done just laid out a perfect, not only parallels and trends. You should have seen in all the different trends. You should have been able to point out yourself and see yourself in those same trends, whether you lack or whether you don't. How many of you can quote the blessings in Deuteronomy? Put a one up if you know where to find them. Can you quote them? Do you know them by heart? That's what we need to be lifting up, getting back to it. Go ahead, sis.
I asked the question, and I didn't mean to interrupt you, Brother C. I'm sorry.
No, you good.
I asked the question, do we even know the 10 Commandments? Okay, we talk about getting back to the law, right? And are we teaching those things to our children? Can our children recite the 10 Commandments over a rap song? If we were to just evaluate ourselves, right? And I gave an example as a solution because I don't want anyone to leave here saying, well, there was no solutions. And I said, my children, I educate in my home. And of course, they're excelling above their peers, whatever color they are, right? But also a part of that education is them waking up every day, and whatever day it is, they got to open that book of Proverbs. So today, October 1st, Proverbs 1. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. Because we go back to Manasseh even, who did wicked in the sight of the Most High, but during his suffering, extreme suffering, had knowledge to turn back to. And so I want just to start, if you haven't started this practice, make sure your children are able to know, understand, and recite the 10 Commandments. And then push them into the books of wisdom so that when they're confronted with a situation, they have the word to draw from versus what they see their peers doing. They can, at that moment that they're faced with a challenge, have discernment because it's already been in them. You think that every month my children read Proverbs and they're not going to be able to make a wise choice on the spot? Because we know that the word doesn't return void, but it accomplishes everything that the Most High said it to accomplish. And if he said it, he's going to do it. And so I just admonish everybody to, if you haven't started to teach in the books of wisdom to your children, please do, so that they have something to draw on and make sure that they understand the commandments. And I tell you, when I was a little girl, my grandmother set us, all of her grandchildren, down and made us quote the books of the Bible in order, so that we didn't, when it come time to go to this chapter and this verse and they find this address, we knew Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges, right? We knew, and we flipped, right? And even that was wisdom from my grandmother. Okay, so I mean, I'm gonna leave it at that, Brother C, and then we'll have this discussion next time about the white ethno state. Look it up, and that's where we're at in captivity.
I hope in this next one, that do we get to talk about white evangelicals on the next one?
Yes, because that's the part of the white ethno state's function, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Right.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
So those evangelicals, and I'm going to show you guys some of their letters to the president, right? Different presidents over different periods of time. And you can see how they set up their system of codes to uphold and protect the corrupt foundations of America, which never, ever, ever intended to train us up, educate us, insulate or integrate any of us, right? And so when people say, oh, well, we're going backwards, well, you thought you was going to go forward? And, I don't mean that in the sense of us pursuing the American dream either, right? Like, I don't want anybody to gauge or measure where their life is based on this false ideology of the American dream, because it looks like it's crumbling before their eyes every day. And I'm glad to wake up in the morning and say, what next, Abba Yah?
That's what I'll be saying every day. What you done did to these heathens next, out of all the heinous that they done did. Our ancestors, go look it up. It's in the book somewhere where our ancestors say, how long, Father, before you pay recompense against these enemies, these wicked entities that did this to my family, that did this to my people? How long? So fam, we gonna exit stage left. And next show is gonna be good. I'm gonna try not to. I'm gonna be a little bit more calm. I'm not gonna yell at y'all like how I did today. Please forgive me, y'all. I didn't bust a vein in my neck or nothing goofy like that. But yeah, I get fired up because I know what time it is. I know what condition I hate the condition my people is in. But the beautiful thing is this: I'm seeing the transition happening in real time. If you had said 15 years ago that we was the people of the book, you would have got ran out of town. If you had said 5 years ago on the streets that we was the people of the book, it would have been like, man, who cares? Now Christianity is shook to its core because they're starting to realize that Christianity is the broad gate that leads to destruction. And there's no truth in it, and that they lying prophets and they lying pastors and preachers are physicians of no value. Now one of them can translate and decode a comic book. How the hell you gonna translate and decode the Bible? How you gonna be able to decode that if you can't even read a newspaper and tell the truth?
This wicked beast system, and I see the comments in the chat. That's why I'm gonna say this, is that such enmity with us and our seed. Remember, enmity between the seed, right? That when I was teaching these things to my children and they were still in public school, my son got in trouble in 2nd grade for saying that there wasn't no Santa Claus, it was only a Satan Claus, and that's what the kids were following.
Yep.
Okay. Now, I just want y'all to know, when you instill this stuff in your children, you can't do both at the same time. Instill knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, and then send them back into the wicked beast system for an education. Because that puts them, they're already at enmity, but the enmity starts to show up in real, tangible ways, different than you've ever seen them before. Because now you have children that are wise and discerning and are telling the truth, but that's forbidden in the wicked beast education uniform system.
Indeed, sis. Found warrior. I'll make this last comment, then we go sign out. Deagle. You know what? I was up on Deagle probably 15, maybe 20 years ago, and they were saying that way back then that European nations was going to be on the decline. Now, they must be reading some of the books that we reading, or either they just know that their time is up and they holding on for dear life because the Chinese don't got next. The Middle East don't got next. Africa don't even got next. And when I say Africa, I mean they don't have next. Who got next is the Israelites, according to what's written. And so if you know you got next, you know you're in a war. You know that you should be training your children. And the trend line you showed today, sis, was absolutely beautiful. It was awesome trends that you all should have seen. And then not only the trends that you should have seen, but you should see the parallels between then and now. The main reason why they want you to think that, and they want you to glorify being stupid, they want you to glorify heinous acts, they want you to glorify killing yourself. Why do the Fuse push death music? Why do the Fuse push death and destruction in their movie industry? Why? Because they never want you to really truly figure out the power that you have. And that if you were training your own children, your children would be the geniuses that's already in their DNA.
And
Brother
Phantom,
C.
yeah, we're gonna talk. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, sis. Go ahead.
I'm gonna talk a little bit more about that on the next time, Phantom Warrior, because I want to show you all the letters that Benjamin Franklin wrote about their population. And then proceeded to do all the housing settlement projects, right? Of how they got housing, free acres of land, right? And so there's a lot of evidence that started not, in the 2020s. They'll try to say, oh, let's talk about the decline of population in 2020. Well, why was Benjamin Franklin talking about it? And why was he giving out land, encouraging European settlers to come here and get free land and have as many babies as they could repopulate? Right.
And that's why
European
they are
settlers
so
through housing acts, Homestead Act.
But that's why they're so hot and heavy about them having
You said what?
children now. That's why they're so hot and heavy about them having children now, because they are actually on the decline from a population perspective. Their numbers are dwindling so fast they can't even keep a hold of themselves. They probably not going to be here in another 20 years, to be honest with you, at the rate that they dying out and at the rate that they killing themselves. And hip hip hooray for Russia. Keep doing the good work. Yes. Russia, keep going. Do Poland next, Russia, if you would. Do Poland and the Netherlands, and do all them nations. Do them all a favor. Do France, do Italy, do all them wicked bastards a favor. Because for what they did to us. Anyway, sis, I'm going to let you have the words. We're going to rock out. But before I do that, here's the sister's information on the bottom. There's her email. There's her YouTube. Go to her YouTube and support her YouTube. She always puts out great posts on a daily. And I saw the one that you put out on the cities. And I saw, oh, you know what? I want to mention that. That white stuff that you saw on those mountains, I saw those coming back when I was coming back home when I was on that trip that I went on. And I was wondering what that was too. What the hell was that? We can discuss that on the other side. We can discuss that on the other side.
I've traveled all over this nation, and this is the first time that I saw that, which is this year. And so I was like, what is that? And why does it look like it has branches, right? So definitely was wondering, did anybody know? And nobody's been able to answer yet. I asked some scientists and they didn't answer me yet. What is this?
I done flown that route hundreds of times. And guess what? I have never seen nothing that's crazy. And I noted it in my mind. I'm like, well, what is that? And it's funny when I saw your image, I'm like, okay, do I want to put this on, make a comment? Because I had commented. And I said, no, I'm gonna holler at her when I talk to her. I saw that. I was like, what the hell is that?
Maybe we should show the people because they don't know what I'm talking about.
Hey, listen, can you throw it up right quick? We got some time to rock off for a few more seconds, don't we? We got a few more seconds. Can we talk for just a few more seconds, fam? Please pull that up and share. Hey, it's good to see you, King. It's good to see you. Hey, it's good to see everybody in the chat. It's good to see all of y'all. I do miss y'all. And my thing was, I wasn't supposed to be doing KC. I was just doing that to as an example for the family and how we would do things decent and in order. And that's really the main reason why I did KC. I had actually wanted to do KC with the host with the idea that I would be passing it along to the other hosts and then I would sit back in the background. But I tell you what, I do miss y'all. I miss all of y'all. I miss talking to y'all, but I miss telling y'all that y'all not saved because I can tell you, not now person that's ever in Salt of the Earth chat or on a panel, not one of you can say you're saved. And I know that for a fact. But anyway, go ahead, sis. Go ahead and throw that up so they know what we talk about because that's some strange stuff that's there. That's crazy.
So I want people to understand the context of. So I'm a local guide because, they've used maps to manipulate us for so long that I decided that I would just be a part of the map discovery and evaluation process, right? It's not my profession, it's my hobby. So I'm a Google guide and I help to correct the maps. And sometimes when I'm flying, I take pictures from my flights and I, put those images on the map too. But this time while I was flying, this time while I was flying, I saw some things that I have never seen before. And I was trying to evaluate what it was. And so as you can see, can you see it?
I'm going to throw it up right now. There we go. It's up.
Right. So as you can see, like we're traveling over land and this was coming out of San Francisco, California. And I don't know if I can zoom in here. And there was a lake right there with white, milky looking substance. And it had branches on it. I have a closer shot, but you see that? And so I have seen a lot of like mud, lakes and different things like that, but never this white, milky substance. And never would it looking like all of the branches that are coming off of it and shaping and forming whatever they're forming or going through the land like that. And so I started asking the question, what is this, right? Because I just wanted to know, right? I mean, so typically if I'm flying and I see an image and I capture it, I recorded some too. I'll share some of the recording. I asked scientists to chime in if you know what it is, right? But nobody has been able to answer yet. And so if any of you know what it is, please, by all means, so I guess that's the end of the pictures because it closed. So I don't know what happened, but I was going to show you guys the other pictures. I could try to go back. If you
the landmass, though, look how much land it was taking up. That's taking up quite a bit of land. And it's not snow, so don't know lying scientists tell me it's snow because it's not that.
Well, somebody did try to say that, and I said that's not snow. This is Southern California. Quit playing with me. I've been here my whole life, right? And so it's not snow, and that's what they tried to say. Well, maybe it's snow, and I said, well, that's interesting because that's not snow, and why would snow branch out like that? And so people will say, oh, it's a mud river, but it is huge because if you could think about from my perspective, I'm in the plain, right? And I'm trying to zoom in on these things and figure out. And I've seen other things too from the plane. I'll have to share that with you all one day, because sometimes I try to post them on my page just to like say, hey, what's this? I've seen other things from the plane that are kind of interesting, and I'm like, whoa, what is that? But I just capture them and add them to the map. Let me see. Okay, I got it back up. All right, there it is right there. Can you see it?
Hold on, let me put it up. It's up now. There you go. Can y'all see that, fam? Put one up if you can see it. My sister said, here's some of the comments. I'm gonna put some of these up. My sister Born Ball says salt. My brother Fountain Warrior says ash or mountain runoff. And then Sister Notorious Hebrew says salt maybe. Hey Jabroni, how you doing, bro? Good to see you. Good to see you in the chat, man. Salt maybe. So we got some answers, sis.
Right. And so I really don't know what would form this pattern to like branch out the way it is. And it looks like to me, and this is just in my estimation, that once these connect and touch, it's going to be bigger. Right. I mean, that's what I would think. Like if these branches would connect and touch, then that's going to just keep expanding. I honestly, like, again, this is coming from the plane. And it looks like little pools, you know. That's all I can say.
I have no idea what that is, but my mind did duly note, and I looked at it. I don't know why I didn't take pictures, but when I flew over it, I was like, what the hell is that? I don't know what it is, but it looked crazy as hell. And look, it's almost it started at the top of the mountain and it's flowing down. And part of it, some of it got that brown, that ashy, like I would go call it rust color in some of it, which is probably mixing with dirt. But it ran off, and it just looked crazy. Just looked crazy to me. It looked crazy.
Yeah,
I
it
don't know
looks
what it is. Go ahead.
fascinating. I mean, you know, and so here it is again, right? If we were to look at the picture as a whole, you know, you can see that's huge.
Yeah, it's a big
Okay,
area.
Benton
Now
Warrior said fire debris from burn
burn
scars.
scars.
Yeah, I mean, it could be possible, but I've been in Southern California my entire life, and we have experienced multiple massive wildfires, right? Well, I'm 46 years old. I've never seen anything like this afterwards. And I've lived in 2 fire evacuation zones from wildfires, right? And so I'm just saying, I'm not trying to make up anything here, but this is a phenomenon that I have not seen before.
Yeah, and the brother Bantu Hebrew Israelites Awakening, snow just like on the top of Mount Kenya in tropical Africa. Yeah, that would be true, but this is not a high elevation. A and B, we're talking about Southern California in when did I just take that trip? A few weeks ago?
This is San Francisco. So, you know, I mean, just so that I can give context, because I'm always checking the land. I'll be doing land evaluations for, you know, hey, you talk about having dominion, you got to know where the land is. And
That's
so
right.
these are some of the pictures, you know, leaving there. And you can see on the left, there's like this brown, you know, look, now that looks river-like, right? Like a mud, whatever, maybe from flooding. I mean, again, San Francisco is an island, you know, so think about that. I took pictures of that too. So that people can look at that, right? Just showing you all some of the different aspects of it. But nothing looked quite like that that white runoff we just looked at. And the little branches that were coming out of it were very interesting. I don't know if this is going to go into more. Just these are just some close-ups.
You know what though, and we'd have to track it to see exactly where it was. I know that it was between. I'll say this: it was in California, but it was on my trip from Seattle that I recently took. And
Right.
I would ask the question: did this show up after that hurricane that just came through?
Right.
Is there any
Exactly.
correlation with that?
Right. And so these are just other pictures of, where there's population actually, I mean, if when we fly, we should be paying attention to this stuff, right? Because they'll say that the US is overpopulated, but we clearly see that we're not. It's just that the population um are pushed into concentration, right? But there's all kinds of land, and know, so this is a color picture of me leaving out of San Francisco and going to enter. Actually, that's a video. I could go back if you guys want to. So this is, right when we get on the edge, it's not that clear. So I'm gonna we've been drinking urine for years. Oh, that's Phantom. Listen.
What you mean, the tap water? We drinking the tap water that they said that they filter back to us, Mountain Warrior. The tap water comes from our toilet water.
Again, this is San Francisco, wow. Right? So, it is an island. And, as we approach the water, I just take pictures because I've seen things in the water too that are very questionable. But hey, I'm not a scientist. I just capture these things and put them on the map, right? This time I saw a lot of brown, looked like maybe algae closer to the shore of the water than I've ever seen it before. Usually I'll see like little, you can see I'm on Southwest, you see the the back of the plane.
Yeah, the winglet.
Yeah. Usually I capture different things that are further out into the ocean than closer to the shore. And these are things that wouldn't be so obvious if you're standing on the ground,
Mm-hmm.
So again, I don't know. And this is me coming into Los Angeles. So we went from shore to shore, right? And just to see
there's a thin film. There's a thin film on top of that water. You see that? There's a film of something and it's clear. Mm-hmm.
Because we're going into LA. So like if you look at the water in San Francisco, California, and then as you begin to approach Los Angeles, which this is where it's at, you start to see a lot of film in the sky and a lot of film on the water. And I do know that, in parts of Los Angeles, they have projects for what do you call it, cloud seeding. You can look them up. They'll tell you like Santa Ana has a cloud seeding project, right? They're pouring chemicals from the planes, and then also they have some machines that they installed on the ground to spray the chemicals. So I don't know if that's a part of that effect. Like I'm not a seismologist or a meteorologist. I just capture pictures that I add to the map.
You know what? These people are no different than the cartoons that they make where they be evil, where the scientists or the witch or the somebody's evil and wicked as hell. They no different than their cartoons. They no different. Like for instance, y'all remember Underdog, Simon Bar Sinister? How evil and wicked he was. He was trying to do evil. Or if you remember Bullwinkle and Rocky, Natasha and Boris, how evil and wicked they was. These people no different than their cartoons. Yeah, they be trying to play Yah. They be trying to play the father. But at the same time, they trying to play the father with the idea that they want to destroy you.
So every time I see this picture that's up right now, and this is Los Angeles, California, you can definitely see that we just came, flying from San Francisco into Los Angeles. Why are they building house upon house like this? And then you have this competitive thing over housing and all of this other stuff. We just saw land that was just open, right? And then here you have Los Angeles, and it's like I think of woe unto you who build house on the house until there's no land left, right? Woe unto you who add house to house and joy and field to field till no space is left, and you live alone in the land. Isaiah 5.
You just
So I mean,
depicted the snakes.
yep. I mean, it's obvious, right? So I'm showing y'all like where clearly there's a lot of land, and then all of a sudden, you see how close these are, right? And this is what people are fighting for, and don't even maybe some of them don't even recognize like literally miles away, plenty of space. Look at that.
Yeah, that's pretty condensed. And if you was trying to
Right,
escape this place, found a warrior, good luck. You better build you an underground cave or something. 'Cause
right.
you're not getting away from that. Go ahead, sis.
And
You're
then
not getting
what
away from that.
they'll say is, wow, even though they was the wicked ones that are woed because they build it house to house, join field to field, then they'll say, we have overpopulation and the climate, this and all of these other political agendas that keep people stuck in their minds. And I'm flying and I'm like, that's a lie, right? That's an outright lie. But again, if you don't have all the facts, it's easy to be deceived.
That's right. That's right. Easy. Easy to be. Well, I'm glad you shared those pictures. And like I said, fam, if you look at the bottom, there's her website, her emails on the bottom. I recommend that you all go out and support her channel, like and subscribe to her channel, because she got a lot of bomb information. And not only that, but the sisters, the Harriet Tubman, when it comes to our children. And I always say this, us living today, there was prophecies and books written about us that the heathen got in their clutches that they don't want us to see. Because you'll open up those books and you'll be like, well, that's brother so and so right there, or that's sister so and so right there. Oh, that's the brothers that's in Brazil. Oh, that prophecy right there, that's talk about the brothers in California or the brothers in Philly or the brothers in New York or Shire, Detroit. That right there, them prophecies, that's them talking specifically about the brothers and sisters that's in Venezuela. They got them books. I know they got them books. They got them books that's talking about us right now. So it would behoove us right now to start coming together and start building something. So, sis,
So
I'm gonna let you have the last word, and we go sign out.
I like the question of where in the text does it say it's only 66 books of the Bible anyway, right?
My brother Big Judah bring that out all the time.
All the
Thank
time.
you, Big Judah. All the time that brother bring that out. And I don't prescribe the 66 books because you took the Apocrypha out and you took all those books out. All those other books point to the children of Israel. And they point to the false religion, the broad gate that leaded to destruction. That's why you took them books out. Because you don't want to be found out of all the heinous acts that you did to Inquisition. You don't want to be found out that your lying religion is a lie from the pit of hell. You don't want to have that be found out about you. Because you cannot be a Christian if you start reading these other books. There's no way on this earth you can. And then you will find out that Christianity is truly the broad gate that leads to destruction. Our enemies have been in our face all the time telling us to believe on stained glass. So go ahead, sis. You got the last words before I get fired up again. We go rock it.
And so Psalm 23:6 has really been on my mind and in my heart and just on the tip of my tongue here lately. Because when we think about all of the pursuits and things that could be against us and what's pursuing us now, I think about that verse 6 in Psalm 23. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever for my days, right?
Yes,
and so anytime I start to feel like everything is on my back, I can release that, because you know what, the only thing that I should be looking behind me to see is if goodness and mercy is following me, right? And so I just want to encourage you all with that. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow us all the days of our lives, and we will dwell in the house of the Most High forever.
Family, I hope y'all doing that verse as well. And this has been another Salt of the Earth production. Father, I got them to admit it. They all admitted that they wasn't saved.